As we entered our second year, Justice Southbury realized we had a good thing going, and we wanted to both expand our knowledge base and our persuasive reach. We wanted to do more, communicate more, learn more, share more. So we decided to host a speaker series featuring important voices from around the country to amplify the experiences and perspectives of those who had insights beyond ours, but for whom it was impractical to come speak on the corner. We have now hosted 23 of these Zooms. Authors, professors, business leaders, podcasters, and consultants from New York and Texas and California and Georgia and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Colorado and Tennessee and Virginia. But our very first Zoom speaker series, wow. I first learned of Walter Thorne on social media, on LinkedIn, which is a business-oriented social media site. And if there's a LinkedIn king, it's Walter, because of his powerful, thought-provoking approaches to the difficult dialogues that we must lean into if we are to engage with those who don't support our goals. His patient and intelligent manner, and his hashtag #TogetherWeRise, which I borrowed or stole from him for our Justice Southbury Facebook posts. Walter is the market president and publisher of the Albany Business Review, member of the boards of the Albany Black Chamber, the Capital Region Chamber, the Albany Community Foundation, a mentor, a frequent public speaker, including college commencements, and a classically trained opera singer in 6 languages. Coming to us today from Albany, New York, please welcome a true community leader and today's keynote speaker, Walter Thorne.
How's everyone doing today? All right. Look to your left. Tell the person next to you to love thy neighbor. Look to your right. Tell the person next to you, together we rise. All right, so let's go. Let me get this together here. 5 years ago today, the world changed. Or did it? But before we talk about that moment, before we reflect on what happened on May 25th of 2020, we need to go back even further to 1991. Rodney King, a man brutally beaten by officers in Los Angeles. The first time I remember video of an unarmed black man being beaten on national TV for the world to see. 4 cops, a brutal beating over a traffic violation, followed by 4 acquittals. Rodney King, a man who later, standing before the world with bruises, both seen and unseen, asked a simple and now infamous question: can't we all get along? That question has echoed for 30 years, and today, 5 years after the murder of George Floyd, it still matters, maybe even more than ever. We've seen what happens when we don't get along. We've seen the pain, the anger, the division, but we've also seen something else, something powerful. We've seen people come together, people from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different experiences, united by a desire for change. I'm going to repeat that because it's in my spirit too. What we've seen what happens when we don't get along. We've seen the pain, the anger, the division, but we've also seen something else, something powerful. We've seen people come together, people from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different experiences, united by desire for change. Southbury, Connecticut, this is why you all have assembled here every single week for 5 straight years. That's 261 straight weeks. That's commitment, and that's why I'm here today. You all understand, together we rise. For the history buffs, let me give you a few other dates. February 23rd, 2020, Ahmaud Arbery, hunted down while jogging, murdered in cold blood. March 13th, 2020, Breonna Taylor, 26-year-old medical worker, was shot and killed by the police. May 25th, 2020, we were already a nation on edge. A pandemic had brought us to a standstill. Fear and uncertainty filled our streets and our screens. Unarmed black person after unarmed black person killed and broadcasted on the news while we sheltered in place in front of our TVs. We had no idea what we were in store for that day. That morning in Central Park, on the same day, May 25th, a black man, Christian Cooper, was birdwatching. He politely asked a woman to leash her dog as the park rules required. Instead of complying, she weaponized his black skin. Amy Cooper made a false, panicked call to the police claiming she had been threatened. She wasn't. He had a camera. He had evidence. She had bias. Luckily, he was not harmed. On the same day, a few hours later, it happened. It happened for 9 minutes and 29 seconds to be exact. George Floyd, a name that we all know now, another life taken in broad daylight, another moment caught on video, a knee, a cry, a man pleading for breath, pleading for his mother over and over. A moment like that we saw in 1991, riots, protests, a total disregard for human rights and human decency. Both stories happened hours apart. They revealed a pattern centuries old the world finally became aware of. But myself and others that share my lived experiences have been grappling with that reality for our entire lives, forcing me to ask, does my life matter? Still out of personal pain, out of the injustice on May 25th of 2020, in a defining moment for me, something else was born. A movement, a principle, a mission. Together we rise. If you ask 100 Democrats, 100 Republicans, and 100 Independents the top 10 things they want for their family, I'd be willing to bet 8 out of 10 would be exactly the same. Safety, opportunity, access to education, access to healthcare, access to banking, dignity, purpose, stability, and hope, just to name a few. So why are we so polarized? Because we've been conditioned to focus on the 2 out of 10 that divides us instead of the 8 out of 10 that unites us. And the truth is, during the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, I saw it with my own eyes. City after city, protests, anger, fear. If you watch CNN and Fox News side by side like I did, it felt like they were covering 2 different countries, 2 different Americas. It was a defining moment for me, a deeply personal one. I realized something crucial. Being polarized doesn't help anyone. Assimilating in my skin didn't help me anymore. Living in silence, pretending to be okay, and being visible and being invisible in plain sight just didn't work for me anymore. We needed what we still need today: unity. We need love. We need empathy. We need to listen, not to respond, but to understand. These are not political statements. These are human values. These are the cornerstones of thriving community, and they should never depend on who sits in the Oval Office. Because no matter where we live, or how we vote, or what we believe, or what we look like, we all want the same fundamental things. Margaret Wheatley reminds us there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And we should be caring about love, empathy, understanding, and above all, justice for all. Love isn't weakness. It's the most radical, most powerful force we have. Love bridges gaps. Love crosses lines. Love brings people to the table. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." He also said, hate cannot drown out hate. Only love can do that. Love asks us to sit with each other, not as enemies, but as fellow travelers, as neighbors, as people trying to make it through the day together. Love thy neighbor wasn't meant to be a slogan. It was meant to be a way of life. It doesn't say love thy neighbor if they agree with you. It doesn't say love thy neighbor if they look like you. It says love thy neighbor period. Love is what fuels change. It's the spark of every movement, every moment of progress, every time someone says, I've had enough. So let love guide you. Let love call you into action. But before you lead with love, let's define it. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Always. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. Love never fails. Let love remind you we belong to each other, and together we rise. We need empathy. We need it in a hurry. Empathy is more than a feeling. It's a skill. It's a choice. It's a practice. It requires emotional intelligence. And a willingness to do better. It understands the difference between ignorance and willful ignorance. It means putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, especially when their journey looks nothing like ours. Empathy says your pain is real. Empathy says, I may not understand it fully, but I'm here. Empathy says, I see you. Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Empathy doesn't allow us to stay neutral. Empathy compels us to act. We need more empathy in our homes, more empathy in our workplaces, more empathy in our schools, and more empathy in our politics. When we lead with empathy, division loses. Empathy says no to calling people out and yes to calling people in. I choose empathy. Now, do you all hear me? Are you listening? Do you understand? Let me ask it a different way. Are you listening to understand? There's a difference between hearing and listening. Listening to respond is about ego. Listening to understand is about empathy. If we were waiting for our turn to speak when we're talking to somebody, we're really not listening. We're just rehearsing our next line. But when we listen to understand, walls come down and barriers are lifted. Bridges are built. Lives are changed. We need to be closer to the people in our communities, not farther apart, stuck in our echo chambers and silos, destroying any chance of coming together. Together we rise. That only happens when we listen with our hearts, not just our ears. And in doing so, we realize something powerful. We are not as different as we think. Today marks 5 years since George Floyd was murdered. 5 years since Christian Cooper was falsely accused. 5 years of weekly rallies right here in Southbury, Connecticut, and 5 years of people like me again and again saying, together we rise. Being silent is being complicit. Justice delayed is justice denied. Coretta Scott King reminds us, struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. This is our generation's turn. We cannot let this moment pass without reflection. We cannot allow it to fade into hashtags, headlines, and catchy slogans. We must shape it. We must let it shape us, change us, and unite us. If we don't come together, if we don't choose unity over division, one day the world will stop calling us the United States of America and start calling us the divided states of America. What does we the people mean today? What does one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, mean today? They should all mean exactly what they were intended to mean. All of us. Not some of us, not the privileged, not the powerful, all of us. That's the vision. That's the promise. That's the fight. And it starts with each of us choosing love, choosing empathy, and choosing to listen to understand. 5 years from now, on the 10th anniversary of George Floyd's death, what will we say about the world we've built? Will we be closer or farther apart? Will we be louder or wiser? Will we still be divided? Or will we finally live up to the name our founding documents gave us? United. That answer depends on us, on our choices, on our courage, on our willingness to work together, our willingness to love our differences, and the ability to turn our differences into our superpower. And finally, on our commitment to rise together, unapologetically for one another, always together. Let's change the world together. This is the principle I stand on, and the principle I challenge all of you to live by. Together we rise, together we rise, together we rise. My name is Walter Thorne. Thank you.